Oh, this one's one of my favorites. 1 minute boss guides for Neltharus for Dragonflight Season 2. Let's go. For this video, we are going to start with Chargath, but it's totally feasible to head towards Magmatusk first. Anyways, Chargath will cast Magma Wave. Players will want to avoid this to minimize damage. Next, he will cast Dragon Strike, which has him charging at a random player and applying a nasty bleed. Healers will need to spot heal this. The main meat of this fight is the interaction between Grounding Spear and Fiery Focus. First, Grounding Spears will attach to 3 players, reducing their movement speed by 40%. You'll want to remove these by intersecting them with Chargath during his Fiery Focus cast, which will fixate the tank. Now, be careful of this because this will cleave anyone within 6 yards. Your group needs to be careful when breaking these because each time the chain is destroyed, your party will be afflicted with Slag Eruption for 4 seconds, and this can stack, so you want to stagger this. Once you break all 3 chains, Chargath will be stunned for 12 seconds and will take 50% increased damage. Now, according to the Dungeon Journal, this will only happen if he hits 3 stacks of Fetter, which is a debuff that is applied to Chargath whenever he trips on a chain, and it lasts 8 seconds. So if you take too long, you'll lose the opportunity for increased damage, so be quick, but not too quick. Forgemaster Gorek has 3 main abilities. He will start by casting Might of the Forge, where he'll leap to his anvil and begin striking it, causing all players to take fire damage during the cast. He will then throw a freshly forged shield at a player, which will bounce up to 2 others. Each player struck will deal damage to nearby players and then take damage over a few seconds. Each player will also send out 4 blazing eruptions in static directions. Be sure to stay spread out and dodge these. Occasionally, Gorek will throw a hammer into the forge, provoking the fire to barrage the room. Just make sure you're dodging these swirls. Finally, he will send heated swings at his primary target, typically the tank, which will send the tank flying backwards. Shortly after this, he will leap onto the location of the tank, dealing massive amount of fire damage to anyone caught inside the radius and leaving a fire pool on the ground. As soon as the tank lands from the knockback, I recommend using mobility to avoid this AoE. Personally, I recommend trying to get knocked into the wall to bait the leap to keep the room as clear as possible. Also, be aware of the patrols around the room if you end up keeping them alive. Magmatusk is, according to the Dungeon Journal, the 3rd boss of the instance, but personally I like going here first. Regardless of when you take on Magmatusk, the mechanics remain the same, and prepare for a headache. First things first, this is an energy-based boss. Whenever Magmatusk reaches 100 energy, it will mutate, gaining 100% damage with Lava Spray and will increase the amount of lava waves that it sends out. I'll cover those in a second though. Long story short, the damage check for this will get harder and harder the longer the fight goes on, hence why I prefer coming here first with Lust or Hero. Also, Magmatusk gains a 50% damage increase whenever standing in lava, so tanks need to make sure Magmatusk isn't standing in lava at any point, especially with how locked the cast sequences get. Anyways, Magmatusk will target a random player with Lava Spray, indicated by the arrow over the player's head. Make sure no one is stacked, and that player should try to use a small or large defensive. Following that, Magmatusk will lob magma at players, leaving behind a pool of lava. Be sure to dodge it. Lastly, Magmatusk will charge in the direction of a random player. Once Magmatusk connects with a wall, it will send out a wave of lava at a player. Like I mentioned before, each time Magmatusk gains a stack of volatile mutation, there will be an additional wave per stack. Be sure to dodge these. I have a lot of negative opinions of this boss, but I'll leave those rants for another video. Rush this boss down as fast as possible. Finally, we have Warlord Sargha. I actually like this fight a lot, but hopefully you have a Curse Dispel available. Sargha herself is pretty simple. Dodge her Dragon Kiln's frontal. It does face a random player and not the tank. She will also afflict a random party member with Molten Gold. Healers just be sure to keep this player healthy. Now, Sargha will also summon an ad that can be dealt with in 2 ways. You can either cleave it down or kill it. Another option is keep it CC'd like in the Harlan Sweet boss fight in Freehold. More than likely that will be reserved for pre-made groups or at least coordinated pugs, but you do have options here. The major mechanic is the Magma Shield and the magical implements around the room. Periodically, Sargha will gain a massive Magma Shield, and that will start dealing intense ramping AoE damage to your entire group until the shield is broken. The way to destroy this shield is not with your own damage, but instead with the cursed dragon items laying amongst the gold piles. I can't stress this enough. Rummage through and pick up items early. All of my testing on PTR typically resulted in wipes because players wait until the shield spawns before trying to even pick up a cursed weapon. You need to destroy this shield ASAP. Whenever you pick up a weapon, you'll gain a stacking curse that does a small bit of damage. Now, another benefit of picking these up early is that your group can start clearing the curse earlier as well. Most of the time you have to be in melee range, but once you use the item and break the shield, you'll head right back into dodging frontals and cleaving ads. Best of luck and enjoy the spoils. Peace.
As you see, my